Hey, it's your TC Josie. In this video, I will be discussing the real estate process for buyers from beginning to end. This video is for new agents learning the ropes, experienced agents looking to see how a TC can help their business, or transaction coordinators researching to understand how we do things in Georgia. I do have timestamps in the description box, so feel free to jump forward to whatever matters most to you, and make sure to like if you like, subscribe to see more tips and tricks from me, and call me for your transaction coordination needs. Let's hop in. So first things first, we need to break this down. There are two phases of the real estate transaction, the sales and the contract to close phases. So the sales process starts when you get a hot lead, and the contract to close process starts when you've executed the real estate contract, or in Georgia, bound the contract. So let's go ahead and explore the sales process. So when you get a new buyer lead, the first thing you're going to want to do is schedule a buyer presentation. There are so many real estate groups that you can join on Facebook that have uploaded their presentation in the files section. Also, YouTube has a bunch of videos of agents that have literally kind of shown you exactly what they do. So you can start there when it comes to the buyer presentation. Now, during this buyer presentation, you'll want to have them sign a buyer brokerage agreement. This cements your relationship with the buyer. The last thing you want is for the buyer to go visit an open house and accidentally write an offer with the listing agent. This basically protects you from missing out on the commission that you've earned. And I've heard so many horror stories of agents that have lost out on deals because they didn't establish this early on. So the next step that you'd want to do after that is have them talk to a lender. Before you show them any homes, you'll want to have them pre-approved or at least pre-qualified for a loan. The lender can be someone that you work closely with, or the buyer can choose who they want to work with as their lender. Just make sure that they're pre-approved before showing them a property. Most times they end up falling in love and they don't have a pre-approval, they can't submit an offer, and by the time they are pre-approved, the home has gone under contract. So just make sure that happens. Also, with this pre-approval letter, a lot of agents have actually chosen to not show properties without a pre-approval letter, especially when it's occupied. So I would make sure to have that done. If you're working with a cash buyer, you'll want proof of funds. And if you're working with someone that's purchasing under an LLC or a company, you'll want something called an operating agreement. And that basically shows who is able or legally able to sign on behalf of this company. So once you've gone ahead and got the pre-approval, then you can start setting up listing alerts. The MLS is an amazing tool to keep you and your clients on the same page. You can send them properties that meet their criteria with items as specific as architectural styles. So through the portal that you can send to them, they can like and love properties so that you're both on the same page, and when you are ready to start showing homes, you have an easily accessible list of the homes they've already chosen out. Also, let me know if you want some help with that. I'd be happy to kind of run through it with you so that you get a little more comfortable. So once they've picked out properties that they like, you'll go ahead and start scheduling the showings. Now in the MLS, you can route your showings in order and schedule them perfectly so that you're not going out and showing a property on this side of town, the next property at this side of town, and then going back to this side of town. They actually let you route it out pretty nicely so that you're saving time and not running back and forth. Don't look like an organized mess. And you can also print the MLS listings so that you can take it to the showing, so that if your buyers do have any specific questions about the property, you can have it right then and there with you. Now, when they've found a property that they love, you will, first things first, call the listing agent. Let them know something as easy as, hey, I have a buyer that's interested in submitting an offer on 123 Main Street. I was just calling to see if you've had any offers on the table. Also, if they haven't submitted the exhibits like the seller's property disclosure on the MLS listing, you'll want to get those up front as well. Hey, would you mind sending me the seller's property disclosure so that my buyer can review that? And they'll send it to you and you can get everything signed and filled in all at the same time. Next, you'll want to do a comparative market analysis, or CMA for short. You can do these pretty easily in the MLS as well by searching the properties with similar rooms, square footage, in a 0.5 to 2 mile radius of the subject property. And this all depends on the area. I say 0.5 because if it's in a heavily populated neighborhood, you'll probably find a lot of like homes in that vicinity. You can stretch it out to 2 miles if it is a unique neighborhood with houses from 200,000 to 700,000. So you can stretch it out to kind of find properties exactly like the one your clients want to write an offer on. And another tip is looking at the days on market when coming up with an offer price. The days on market will let you know if this is a price for the market. You know, if it's been sitting on the market for 90 days without any offers, that's a tell sign that it's probably overpriced. So when you're submitting an offer as well, I would just attach those comps if it is something that's lower. With a market as hot as today's, you would definitely want to back up a lower offer by attaching those comps to the email with the offer. So once you've sent those comps over to your buyer and they decide, yeah, let's go with this price that you're saying it should be, you'll want to start writing the offer now. So most offers have an earnest money amount of 1% to be deposited between 3 to 5 days after binding. The due diligence period or inspection period is usually around 7 to 10 days. In Georgia, Georgia is an attorney state, and the attorney represents the lender. So the buyer usually chooses who to close with when it comes to the attorney. So you'll write that on the contract as well. Earnest money is either held by your broker, and depending on the location, you may choose to have the earnest money held by the attorney. Let's say it's an hour away from your brokerage. You would rather just do the walkthrough and go straight to the attorney that's nearest to the property. So that is another option when it comes to earnest money holder. So you will want to understand the contract. I would read it from top to bottom, but to narrow it in for you, the first page and the second to last page are the fields that you'll need to fill in. And the last page is for the signatures. And you'll also want to fill in you and your broker's information to its entirety. Really, the important ones are the broker's MLS code, the broker's license number, and your license number. I have seen those kicked back for those not being there. And of course, names and the company name would probably help. So once you have filled those in, you'll want to put in the signature boxes in the contract as well as the exhibits and send it to your buyer to review and sign. Once you've received them back, signed, you'll go ahead and send it to the listing agent who will present it to the seller. So this is where we jump into the negotiations. So the seller can either accept, counter, or outright decline it. If it's too low of an offer, they might just say, hey, listen, no thanks. This isn't even worth trying to negotiate. So if an offer is accepted, the seller and the agent will sign and send back to the buyer's agent to bind. It's important to understand that in Georgia, the last signature isn't the contract date. It's the date that the receiving agent puts on the bottom of the purchase and sale agreement. But if it's countered, the listing agent will draft a counter offer. And normally they would add only the changes made to the original offer on this counter, but I have seen agents copy over the original terms and add the new terms. So don't be alarmed either way. Both ways work and are perfectly fine. So the selling agent then signs and sends to the buying agent to have signed by the buyers, and then send it back to the listing agent so that they can bind. So just so you kind of understand, the binding happens by the agent receiving a fully executed contract. There is a little bit of confusion that I've seen, you know, in my experience of who binds. It's the person that's receiving a fully signed contract. So let's get into the contract to close process. So I like to break this down by transaction deadlines and milestones. So the first one would be the earnest money due, which is 3 to 5 days after binding. And then the due diligence, which is 7 to 10 days after binding. And then you can go on to the appraisal financial contingency, which would be usually around 21 days. I've seen it 18, I've seen it 25. So it really depends on the lender as well. And then closing, of course. During the earnest money due date, so the 3 to 5 days after it's gone under contract, when you have a transaction coordinator, these are the only things that you would be responsible for. So with my process, you submit a transaction from either your computer or your phone to my website. And it's a super easy form, and really the important information is the client's contact information. That way I can shoot off the emails when I need to. And then you'll schedule the home inspection and text me the date so that I can log it in my system as well. You'll coordinate the earnest money deposit with the buyer. Usually that's meeting at the office. All you would do is send a scanned copy to me, and I'll send it out to all of the necessary parties. And they can also wire the earnest money deposit. And usually I see them wiring it to the attorney when the attorney's the earnest money holder. So once the earnest money deposit is submitted, I just need that receipt, and I will send it off to all of the parties. So my role, once it goes under contract, is review all of the contract documents for completion and compliance. I make sure that everything's correct on there and send out for initials and signatures if I do need to make any corrections. I send out intros to the co-op, attorney, lender, and your buyer. I also invite you and your buyer to a client portal, which they are able to see everything that's going on, all of the milestones as we approach them or as I complete them. And on your portal, you'll actually be able to see all of my tasks, so you know what's been done, what needs to be done, and you can keep track of my progress and the progress of the transaction through there. So it's a super easy link you can click onto. It also stores all of the contract docs. So if the client needs any documents, you can say, oh yeah, she's uploaded it to the client portal. So it really helps us kind of work together and stay on the same page and save us some time downloading and sending things that are already, you know, all in one place. So I'll send out the calendar invites, and for Keller Williams, which a lot of my work has been with Keller Williams agents, I'll create an opportunity in Command. I'll submit the contract docs, complete the offer, and the commissions tab as well. I will send the notice of contract to the FMLS and verify that the listing agent has changed the listing in the MLS to active under contract. I'll send out the earnest money deposit to all the parties and upload it to Command. And then by then, we've probably approached the due diligence end date. So you'll attend that inspection, you'll negotiate those repairs, and then you'll send me the amendment to address concerns. That's when I step in, I send the ATAC to all of the parties, I upload it to Command, I send out a what's next email to your buyer, which goes in detail on what to expect from here to closing. I send a survive due diligence email to the lender as well, and then I ask and make sure that they've ordered the appraisal and kind of see where we are there, to the attorney, where I make sure the title was ordered, and to the co-op as well. And in that email, I basically request the utility disclosure, the instructions to closing attorney. I will coordinate the scheduling on the closing and the final walkthrough with the co-op and the attorney. I'll verify it's pending in the MLS. And I coordinate with the lender and attorney throughout the process, making sure that we're on track. Now, a week before closing is when I will send out a closing invitation with the attorney's address and phone number, everything that they would need. And I'll submit the DA request, so the disbursement authorization request, so that you get paid at closing. And I'll request the repair receipts. I'll send out a transaction docs email with all of the transaction documents that haven't gone out to everyone. Make sure that everyone has everything. And then I'll confirm with the lender that the closing disclosure was sent to the buyer and confirm that we're clear to close. I'll send the DA and request the preliminary settlement statement from the attorney. I'll review it, make sure that it's accurate. I'll send it out to you and your client so that you guys can review for accuracy. And once everything is confirmed to look good, I will confirm with the attorney. So my job doesn't stop there. Once we close, I'll request the final settlement statement from the attorney. I'll send it, I'll upload it to command for Keller Williams. I'll send it to your broker. I'll do a final docs email to the client and ask for a review. This is basically all of the documents in one place so that they have everything in an email, including the final settlement statement. I will submit the notice of closing to FMLS. And I will close out any e-signature platform and clean it up. I'll confirm with your buyer about 3 days after closing and make sure that the sign and lockbox was removed from by the listing agent. And then verify that it was marked sold in the MLS. I'll print out all the emails to a PDF and save it in your files, whatever files you use, or I usually have a Google Drive folder that I share with my agents that has all of the contract docs, including these emails. All right, well, that is a little bit, a lot of what it is to go through the real estate process. So if you do want some more ideas on what else that I might take care of throughout the process, you can go to mlhtransactions.com/TC, and you can get a nice detailed list there of what I do throughout the transaction. Please make sure to like if you found this useful, subscribe if this is your first time here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.